Hello, everyone, and welcome to this nice afternoon, or morning, or evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. My name is Domenico Azzolini. I'm together with Ermolaus and Tulia. This afternoon, we are going to talk about case study. It's a whole afternoon diving into the safety of insects as novel food. So we will talk about novel foods in general, and then case study specifically for novel foods. For the introduction of ourselves, we thought about, let's say, giving you a different type of introduction. First of all, I will give you an outline, a sort of outline of the afternoon, because we are in Italy, so we are in the afternoon time after lunch. But basically, we are going to start with an introduction part, as you see in the slide here. So first we start about discussing who we are and what we do. Then we want to know definitely who you are and what you do in your life and your career. We have some tools to do that, to make the afternoon very engaging. And the next 2 hours very engaging. Then I will give you an in-depth presentation on the insects risk assessment. Then we have a nice break for a coffee or a chocolate. Then we start off with the next session, which is the case study itself. And then Hermolaus will be heading you towards understanding what are the most critical points in assessing insects as novel food. And in particular, he will be talking about one of the most recent insects that EFSA has been assessed, which is a UV-treated powder from Tenebre molitor. Then we will be addressing your questions that you are nicely already putting in. Then we have a nice break again. Finally, and this is to keep you really much alive during this 2 hours conversation, we are going to have a nice quiz. Now, stay with us, of course, because at the end of the 2 hours, we have this nice quiz. It's made of 10 questions. And we will be delivering to the first 3 winners some prizes, some awards that have been collected by those who deliver the summer school. So to start, we're going to present you who we are. Let's see who we are. So I'm in presenting mode. Let me go here. I'm gonna click on present. Okay, so what you have to do, guys, is to take up your smartphone with you and go on menti.com. You'll see down on the left side the link. You can either scan with your barcode, or you can enter the browser of your phone, menti.com, and then enter the code that you see on the display. I see there are 4. I believe there will be many more 5s. We are growing up. 5. Let's give it a few minutes. 12 is growing. I wait until we get like 50 or 100. So it's going up very fast. Yes. 39. Come on, you're supposed to be very smartphone, guys. Yeah, here we are. Yes, lots of thumbs up. 13. Show me how much you like this presentation so far by clicking on the thumbs up. I see now only 30 compared to 67.
They're increasing.
They are increasing. 46. Oh my gosh, yes. That is nice. Okay, I say we can start. Don't worry, you will always be able to sign in. And the instructions will be on the top of the slides. I see now 88 people joining, 90. I will wait until we get to 100, which is the perfect, nice round number.
And more on me.
So how are we going to, yeah, 10 more to go. How are we going to deal with this? So we will read 3 curiosity facts, and then you have to vote on your phone to which one and find out to which one this fact belongs to. And then we are going to present whether you are correct or wrong, let's say, to tell you what's the behind story of it. 95, I think we can start already, right? 96, yes. Okay, there is a first sentence here, a curiosity fact, which is I used to be a pastry wizard and spent over 8 years crafting delicious dessert. Now you have to figure out to which one these tasks belong to. I see Domenico is very popular here. Ermolaus says 3, 18. Why is everybody on Domenico's side?
Let's see if it's true.
Yeah, indeed. What if you are wrong, guys? Come on, give some. Come on, I mean, I'm with Ermo, I'm with Tulia. It can be anyone, eh?
It seems that you're the guy crafting the delicious desserts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Okay, well, I think almost everyone has voted. So what I can do now is enter to show the correct answer. Yes. Too many hearts. Yes, this is correct. Well, I don't know how you figured it out of nowhere, but basically, yes. I used to be a pastry wizard, let's say, for the first few years of my career before even going to the university. I spent a lot of time in making pastries and working as a pastry chef for different places in Italy, at least. And this is what drove me to this passion of and around foods and how foods are made. And this guided me towards going and studying at the university. And then we will be discussing later on. The rest is history, as they say. I will go to the next one. When I was a child, I was fond of knitting. I succeeded in tailoring several sweaters. Tulia seems the only one getting this, the votes.
I also get some.
I mean, yeah, I see you are not very Nordic, guys, because in Nordic European countries, it's a very, that there is also hard rock festival, knitting hard rock festival. Yeah, there are these guys that basically during knitting, during singing and playing, they basically knit. Tulia is very popular. I think definitely not me, maybe Ermolaus, but surely Tulia. Let's see if the answer is correct. Oh my gosh, yes. Tulia, do you want to share some words about it?
Yeah, I just, my grandmother taught me to do it, and it was for me very relaxing activity, but also to get some practical skills. So I just think that then when I became a chemist, maybe I just put in practice these skills that I acquired when I was a child.
Yeah, fantastic. Everything you learn when you're really young is always useful later on. Okay, let's move to the third one. Let's see. When I was little, I stepped into a quicksand. Oh my gosh. Ermolaus. What is going on here? Wow, everybody.
I think the results may be a bit biased.
Is biased?
Yes, because you got the previous votes.
Oh, yes. But the next ones will not be that easy. It will be more difficult. Let's see. Yes,
well, it's correct. Actually, since I was very young, I was very curious. I was very interested in knowing how the world works, how the matter interacts, the different ingredients, the different materials. So I was very keen on discovering new stuff, and sometimes discoveries bring you to the wrong place.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily, I managed to get out, but this curiosity led me also afterwards to study chemistry, and more specifically later I specialized in food chemistry and technology. But this curiosity was since I was very, very young.
Yeah, I can tell you're a very curious guy. Okay, let's move on. I studied ancient Greek and late Latin at high school. Domenico, guys, you're definitely on the wrong side. Domenico is leading, but yeah, I see Tulia is catching up. Is she? Is it Tulia or Ermolaus?
Well, one Greek, 2 Italians.
Let's see. Let's see how it goes.
I have a name that could.
Oh yes, it's Tulia. This time it's Tulia. Tell us.
Yeah, I did at high school. classic high school. So we study Greek and Latin, ancient Greek and Latin. My name actually is a Latin name. And yeah, it was funny because at the university, when we study, for example, physical and stuff like this, when somehow ancient Greek letters came out, my friends asked me, what is this and what does it mean? And so,
wow, fantastic. I mean, you're Greek. Do you study ancient Greek? Or,
Yes,
or
yes.
yeah, you do? Oh,
Since high school we do.
Okay, she's a competitor.
Yes. But Latin is not obligatory in Greece. Some people they study too. Yeah,
okay.
I didn't.
Okay. You had other stuff to do. I studied Italian when I was 15 without even planning to study or live in Italy. Why should I study Italian, guys? I am Italian.
So me also.
Ermolaus. Okay, this one pretty clear.
I think this is too obvious. Yeah, actually, I like a lot learning foreign languages, and at some point I started learning Italian when I was 15. I had never in my mind to come to work or study in Italy, but when I was actually 25, 10 years later, I arrived here at EFSA. My plan was to stay here for 1 year, but it has been almost 7 years since then. 7 years have passed, and I have been working at EFSA in the novel foods area, on the safety assessment of novel foods.
Wow,
Well,
fantastic.
we don't work at EFSA in Italian, but Italian in Italy is very, very useful and very essential.
Yeah, I can tell he's very proficient in Italian. Definitely.
Thanks,
proficient.
Domenico. Grazie.
Okay, let's move. Before the PhD, I built my first fully automated domestic rearing device to grow Tenebrio monitor. Who on earth has this crazy idea? Might be Tulia or Ermolaus or Domenico. People vote on me on these things.
Seems you.
I mean, seriously. Okay, well, let's give up with. It's pretty clear. The answer is Domenico. Yes, indeed. Then after I studied, I started my studies with the PhD. Actually, before the PhD, I was interested in these insects as new food or foods of the future, as they say. And so I decided to start growing some Tenebrio monitor back in my garage. And indeed, my parents were not very proud of me because it was particularly smelly, the garage at a certain point. But it was definitely a fun experience, and it gave me, the understanding of how the processing works and how the insects are reared, the different phases, stage of growing. It was fantastic, fully automated. And there are some examples on the market of these things. But for me, it was only like a domestic practice.
I have a question. What did you do with the insects?
Well,
what happened to them?
I ate them.
You ate
Majority of them, most of them, yes, I did. I also used to do some evenings, like Wednesday evenings, with my friends. To prepare some dishes.
Did you do any pastry, wizardry with insects?
No, not particularly pastry. No. Mostly savory products. No, not pastry. Yeah. Let's move on. Okay. During my master studies in Denmark, I studied about edible insects and cell-culture derived meat. And now I'm in EFSA and I work on the safety assessments of these foods. Fantastic journey. Okay, I see a nice Ermolaus has been scored very high here. People don't trust that I did a PhD in Denmark. I don't know why, based on what you decide, who did what, but it's nice. Okay, let's see. Yeah, you got it right.
Well, the majority is correct, indeed. So it was actually an Erasmus Mundus master degree program, and I had to spend 1 year in Denmark. And then we studied about animal-derived foods. And we also had courses about edible insects. And also, remember, we had an Oxford debate on cell culture derived meat, the pros and cons, and also the neutral side. And back then, I would have never imagined that in the future I would work exactly on this topic. But now, here at EFSA, I work in these two areas. And I have to say there are many, many more things to learn. I mean, learning has not stopped since yet.
Why you were already, foresighted in the future, eh?
Without knowing it.
Without knowing, yeah, without knowing.
Where were you in Denmark?
In Copenhagen.
Oh.
Very nice city. Very nice.
They were quite true because I spent 1 year in Copenhagen before my PhD. I'm working on bioorganic chemistry, so
okay.
actually
okay.
This
see,
question
you
is
never
quite
know, eh?
trivial.
You never know. I love chemistry of life and molecules interactions. It's a matter of hydrogen bonds. This is a nice joke. I started with DNA when I moved, then I moved to food proteins and allergens. Tulia, you're winning hands down. Shall we reveal this? What do you think? Like, yes, it's Tulia.
I was. I had my master degree in chemistry and with bioorganic chemist, and I studied DNA, PNA, peptide nucleic acid. So this is why I spent 1 year in Copenhagen and on a biological and medical application. Then I switched my interest, and during you never know during your life, and I just switch on food, and in particular proteins and food proteins and allergens.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Well, I forgot to mention that we are from EFSA and Tulia is from the University of Parma. It's a fantastic set. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We are almost there. There are 3, I think, left, or sort of. I worked on a project to develop foods. We are 3D food printing and wrote several publications. So don't go on the internet and search for like who did this. Why you guys, you get everything right. Everything right. Yes, it was me. You know, I'm very, very passionate about technology, so I always try to stay up in the curve. And so, yeah, during part of the PhD was on using this new and novel technology that will definitely enter also in the food sector in the coming future in developing, let's say, food, printed food. Wow, fantastic. Let's move on. Oh yeah, now we have questions about you. So delicious you, be quick, and let's see what we get. It's loading. Oh yeah, which country are you from? Oh, many from Italy, Greece a lot, Portugal I see,
Spain.
Turkey, Philippines. Wow, fantastic.
Austria,
I see in the middle Mediterranean.
Yeah, you're right.
Germany,
Brazil, India. Wow.
Costa Rica, somewhere.
Iceland.
Oh yeah. Wow. So Macedonia also, Albania. Yeah, I see the majority is from, no, Indonesia. Wow, so many from Indonesia. Fantastic.
Netherlands.
Yeah, PL stand for what?
Poland.
Holland? Yeah, could be. Yeah, Poland.
PH. What's the PH?
What's PH?
I saw somewhere.
Yeah. I have no idea. Write it in the chat what PH stands about. Ecuador. Oh, Spain is winning. The Spanish are a little bit late, but they are definitely a kind of Bulgaria. Lots of Bulgarians. Okay, well, nice overview. We see that you guys are from everywhere. Is there anyone sleeping at the moment, or should be sleeping at the moment? Like, where are those?
It's time of
is it
afternoon nest.
America is waking up.
Yeah.
Maybe Indonesia is late evening, isn't it? Okay, well, let's see. Let's move on. Nice overview. What was your major in college, university? You can vote on this. Apologies for not including everything, but health science, I expect natural science a lot. Okay, interesting. I hope we don't get many others. None of you business. Wow, okay.
No entrepreneurs here in the food sector.
Yeah.
I would have expected business students because it's innovative foods this summer school.
Yeah, indeed. We will definitely try to tell, but natural science is very, very popular among us. Okay, cool, interesting. Well, let's move on. Write down a few words. Now we get into the afternoon topic. A few words that come to your mind when you think about insects as food. So what do you think about? Like crunchy, future. Is it delicious, anyone? Protein, okay. Protein source, sustainable, novelty, Mexican food. There must be Mexicans around, guys, here. Yucky. Oh, yes. Allergens, wow. Proteins.
I see burgers somewhere.
Do you see burgers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nutritious.
We have so many.
Actually, before there was a presentation on risk-benefit assessment substituting meat burgers with insects.
Neophobia. Wow, very, very high level comments. I mean,
Neophobia is it means fear for new things.
yeah, I think sometimes I have it. Sometimes I do. Okay, interesting. Quite a nice overview. Do you want to say?
A lot of words, yes.
Yeah. Not delicious.
Disgusting.
Yeah, interesting. But at least
Evil.
Yeah.
at least what stands out, I see is protein, sustainable, neophobia, disgusting, protein again,
Protein.
novel foods. Yes, you're right into it.
I see both positive and negative aspects, but also some neutral.
Yeah, ethics, I see also. Ah, cool, nice overview. On a scale 1 to 10, how adventurous would you say your plate is? Is it like, well, those who voted neophobia, like they're definitely got to say not adventurous at all. But I see that somewhat adventurous is increasing. Most of you studied natural science, so it becomes natural for you to be adventurous.
I mean, if you are exposed to new things, it's more probably that you will be more open to try those.
Yeah, definitely. Surely, if you travel a lot, then you've tried definitely new foods for sure. Okay, somewhat adventurous. Is it the reason why people are joining this afternoon? Because they want to know about novel foods and insects? Is it?
Why not?
Okay.
This was a topic.
Yes. So let's say you are invited to a dinner party where all dishes are made from insects. What would you do? Do you escape immediately? Or you would be excited to try them out? Yeah, okay. This is almost the same as before. Yes.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, fantastic. So most of you will try them out. We can move on. Okay, a tricky question. Which one would you eat more likely? Is it yellow mealworm, a mealworm powder, or a cricket, a house cricket? Fantastic.
No, 0 for worms.
0 for worms.
Right.
Guys, you see it.
1, 2.
Two. Yeah, poor worms. I mean, the first two are exactly the same. But you see what the difference is between something that you don't see physically, it doesn't scare you.
Actually, there have been many studies regarding insects as foods, and especially in the Western world, it's more probable that consumers will try them if they cannot see them.
Yeah.
Of course, you must be aware that there is this ingredient in your food, but if you don't see it, then maybe you have less inhibitions to try it.
If it's a powder like that, you can also imagine that could be another kind of ingredient and not so exotic, let's say.
We'll see whether this will be a nice strategy in the future for the insect industry. But I think this was the last. Oh no, wow, last question, very nice. Be careful, guys, on what you vote to this. And what is the best way to spend this? Well, it's Wednesday afternoon for us, and but you see, we are winning. We are definitely winning. Okay, cool, nice. Doing anything else? There are 17, 18 people. You can disconnect, okay? Definitely disconnect. We really want focused guys here and girls. But okay, insect case studies, the winning one. Right, so we have ended this presentation. Nice. Okay, now we go back to where we were. So let's start, an in-depth presentation. What I will be presenting you, are we on time, right?
Yeah.
15 minutes? Okay, we have 25 minutes about to go into the deep and ins and outs of the risk assessments of novel foods and on the insect side. So first we start with the overview of the novel foods risk assessment. Definitely you've heard the most of the intricacies of this yesterday's. Then we move into the categories and the trends that we as EFSA are seeing, or in general, the market is seeing. And then we focus on the risk assessment of insects. All these in the next 20 or 25 minutes. We'll see. Very easy. What is that EFSA does? Basically, EFSA provides a scientific let's say, report, a scientific assessment to the European Commission. We scientific officers, we receive, or EFSA receives novel food dossiers. The scientific officers, which is in charge of this dossier, basically has 9 months, together with the working group of the novel food, and finally with the panel on nutrition, novel food and food allergens, to check, to do a proper risk assessment of the novel food itself. What we actually assess, what we deal with is that the novel food shall be safe under the proposed conditions of use. We will definitely look into what the proposed conditions of use means and all the particularities of these wordings. We see and we check whether the novel food cannot, we check whether the novel food is or not nutritionally disadvantageous. And what we don't do is, in the novel food area, is checking the efficacy of the novel food. What this means is that we don't really see whether there are health benefits derived from the novel food, but we only assess the safety of it. And this is a very important distinction between the two sides of things. How we do it, you see, this is an overview of the novel food guidance. You see here, it started in 2016 and updated in 2021, and next year we most likely will be bringing up a new update of the guidance. We basically check, these are all the chapters that we go into, and we ask the companies, mainly the majorities are companies or or associations that basically want to introduce this novel food in the EU market. We ask them to provide all information, scientifically properly made information on all these chapters. Like you see, identity of the novel food is very important, the production process, the compositional data, the history of use, proposed uses and use levels, and so on and so on. Nutritional information, tox, allergenicity, whatever, to make sure that the food that is consumed in Europe is safe to eat. Then we move on which are the categories of these novel foods. There are a variety of categories. These can be new processes. These can be modified food structures, new foods that were not consumed by I believe it was 1997, May 1997, in a considerable amount in Europe before that date. Plants or their parts. So you see, also we have novel foods that are derived from animals or their plants, and insects fall specifically in these categories, or cell and tissue culture derived from the living cells. Engineered materials and so on. So this is an overview of what the categories are. Of course, in each of these categories there are several different specific ones. Moving on, you see, before 2015, there used to be a previous regulation, EU regulation on novel foods, and in 2015, a new regulation came out that allowed more food categories to be included in the list of novel foods, let's say, or in the categories of novel foods. And from then, this regulation also tried to boost the innovation within the European food sectors. And from then you can see the amount and the increase in numbers of applications that EFSA has been receiving and has been assessing over the last years. And you see there is a nice trend with oligosaccharides. You see in greens this new or intentionally modified molecular structures. You see the orange parts, you see the algae, microalgae, and also in pink foods that are animals or parts of animals. Among this, a very nice trend has been with novel food proteins. So it is believed that proteins are, of course, an important part of our diet, of the human diet. There is always a need for producing protein. Some say in a more sustainable manner, but this is yet to be seen. But definitely we are seeing a trend, an increasing trend in the production of or in submissions and risk assessment of these types of novel food proteins. These can include insects, plant-based, algae, tissue culture, fungi, or byproducts. So all these may be, and we are also seeing recently a growth in interest in microbiologically made proteins or precision fermentation-like products. Insect specific, this is a nice map. Probably some of you have already seen this, but shows an overview of actually the fact that insects and carefully read up there are over like 2,000 species of insects that have been reported to be consumed around the world. So this is definitely not something new, but it's a practice that has been done in the past for many, many years. And this gives you an overview of how varied is this space, and of course how difficult it is for us to understand and give a proper answer when assessing the novel food, because this may be very different. What is particular here to know is that the novel food, the insects that reach EFSA for risk assessment are mostly those that can be upscaled in production, in order to be properly made in a high amount and cover the market. But this is a nice overview. Why are insects novel foods in Europe? Well, this is because they were not consumed in a large amount or in a significant degree before May 1997. They are considered new sources of food. They may be produced by new technologies or new processes. You will see later on also the UV-treated mealworm that includes a new processing. They might be traditional foods, indeed, because some of you may be thinking that, we have seen the map before, that these are largely consumed in other non-EU countries. Indeed, but for these specific foods, the Commission or the member states can always request EFSA to do a proper risk assessment of novel foods. And so these may fall under the novel foods area. What we have been dealing so far? So far we have assessed or adopted 7 opinions. We have 6 currently under risk assessment and 6 under suitability check. These are novel foods that are currently being assessed at another department in EFSA and are definitely trying to approach us for the proper risk assessment, the scientific part of the risk assessment. These, you can see, are divided between larva and adult stage, definitely. There are more larval insects. These can be Tenebrium molitor or yellow mealworms, lesser mealworms, black soldier fly, honeybee male drones, and this is a particular one. And then we have house crickets on the other side, grasshoppers or banded crickets. But banded crickets was withdrawn as an application. Yes, you see, it's a very varied types of applications. We don't have eggs so far, but mainly these types of stages of the insects. Let's move on. How are the food and the insects provided to be assessed? Well, these, as you can see in this slide, this can be provided in a variety of products. So we have refrigerated, meaning that they are thermally treated, perhaps, and then refrigerated. So these are fresh foods. Could also be frozen after being submitted to freezing or grinding and thermal treatment. Be careful, not always there is a thermal treatment, and when there is not a thermal treatment, there are definitely more and more information to be needed in the microbiological side, the stability side, and the chemical stability side as well. Then can be dried, the most voted one. Dried can be either grinded or simply dried and then served as they are. There could be other treatments like UV treatments, or we can also expect to have fat extraction. So these are insects from which fat has been removed, and so they are fully packed with proteins and other components. But we definitely expect in the future, in the near future, to see and be getting also oils or fat, so specifically fat, meaning the two main fractions will be separated and perhaps may add the particularly new possibilities for the food industry. Moving on, the production process. Let's have a quick focus on the production process. Definitely knowing the insect species is important. You have seen how many insect species there are around the world that are being consumed so far. Because the insect species may carry, the different ones may carry different physical hazards and with them different risks. It's important to know the developmental stage of the insects. For instance, locusts may exist in different types of developmental stage, and they may have two different compositional characteristics or other types of characteristics. Then farming is important. We need to know how the conditions for rearing are, the feeding substrates, because the feeding substrates definitely can carry some compounds with them. Harvesting and how insects are harvested. The fasting step seems to be very important in removing the intestinal tract. The separation of insects from the frass, whether there are diseased animals, that's important because those can carry, some microbiological contaminations as well. And then the final part, the processing. What's called proper processing, and for that it's important to know, and if there is any contaminants. We want to know the stability of the novel food, which is sort of how the food behaves, the novel food behaves throughout the shelf life, and how the food behaves in the food matrices in which this particular novel food is intended to be used. That's also important. Characterization. What do we know about insects? Well, definitely insects are not simple molecules. So insects are complex molecules. What this means is that their chemical composition cannot be fully characterized, or at least not easily. It's extremely hard. So what we want to know and what we assess in regards to these types of novel food is the main constituents and the proximate analysis. So through the proximate analysis. And we do that by asking the applicants which are these constituents. By this information, we know definitely what the nutritionally relevant constituents are, vitamins, minerals, proteins, and so on. Moving on, this information also gives us an idea of what substances of possible concerns are to human health. This can be, as I mentioned before, inherent compositions, chemicals, could be chemicals that come up during rearing, perhaps by the feeding substrate. These could also be some processing contaminants, for instance. And then we also touch upon also the stability, microbiological and oxidative stability. The history of use, we mentioned some information here. Extended use in the role in the diet, precaution and restrictions of use, removal of parts before consumption. What this means is that we want to know whether if this food has been consumed in other parts of the world, and then wants to be novel food in Europe, we need to know the history of the consumption of this novel food, because the history of consumption may bring some new information in that were not in the mainstream information or in a novel foods dossier. Moving on to nutritional information, it's important to also understand what's the bioavailability of nutrients. And you will see in the next slide a particular focus on the bioavailability and why this is very crucial. Also the anti-nutrient composition, because it may limit the bioavailability and may also impact let's say the safety of us or Europeans consuming these novel foods. Chitin is also a major component of insects. So we have proteins, we have fat, we have chitin, third place. And this is also acts as an exoskeleton, like the human body. And this may hinder the bioavailability of some minerals. So it's also important on that side as well. Why protein is important? What we know is that insects, what you see here, true protein can be overestimated when 6.25 factor is used, non-protein nitrogen, e.g. chitin. What this means is basically that there might be other components that might be interfering with the protein analysis in the insects and leads to overestimation of the protein. And chitin is generally one of the main factors that leads to this error, let's say, or overestimation. But definitely there are some. So it's important to know which is the true factor, which is the non-true factor, in order to have a proper understanding of the protein composition. It's also known, actually quite trivial information there, is that the true ileal nitrogen digestibility of insects of these proteins is not 100%. So not all the proteins that are available within the insects that we have assessed so far are bioavailable, so are digestible, we can say, okay? So it's important. So either we are overestimating, and then we are also not properly intaking all the available protein. This is what this part is saying. Then we definitely have, as other proteins, some limiting amino acid factors. And what I've been actually considering, and is also trivial so far, is the considerable amount of minerals. In particular, we're seeing that in insects, in particular, some species contain a large amount of manganese, comparable to other high sources in manganese, food sources like nuts, for instance. And an overconsumption or a high consumption of manganese may lead to some health issues. Therefore, it's important that within the conditions of use, we also check the manganese intake, and we try to maintain the intake at safe levels, let's say. And for this, a nice slide before closing up, the proposed uses and use levels. What this means, we have seen before in the previous slide that insect can be provided and served or to the EU market as whole, dried, powder, or in other forms. But what is very important is that whenever an insect is placed on the market, that insect, and we check whether the proposed uses and use levels lead to safe consumption of this food within an array of food products or food matrices. So within biscuits, within pasta, snacks, soup, yogurts, meat-eat-meat-aids, and so on and so forth. So this is also an important information. And bear in mind everything that is said here, because at the end, all these will be useful in the slides with our quizzes. Also, the maximum inclusion level is important and needs to be reported.